I think we're live now. Hello, everybody. If we are live, my computer's a bit slow to let me know that we're live. So we could be live, we could not be live.
We're live.
Yeah, he's going. Yeah, it's come up for me now as well. Oh, and Mark's turned up. Mark is here as well. He's a busy boy this week. He can't be here for very long today.
Oh, I'm here until about.
What is going on with you, man?
It's pay week, Bill. People have got money. I need to extract it from them.
Pay week. Okay, so are these people that get subscriptions through you, or
no? It's just I sell comics on Whatnot.
Okay,
and the week for the last 2 weeks, nobody's had any money because the further you get away from the payday, the less money they've got. Yeah. And they all get paid this week, so they've all got lots of spare cash.
Monthly pay is a pain in the butt.
So this is the week in which you need to rake it all in.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. At first, I ran a show. I thought you said this is the week where you have to break some legs.
Yeah,
it's going to go what?
So I ran a show on Monday night and took about 450 quid, which is my second best show. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but while the iron is hot, strike.
Wow, that's great. That's good money.
Yeah.
So what? Okay, so explain to me because I'm totally ignorant. A quid is what?
A pound.
A pound. A quid is a pound.
A British pound. It's about $1.20.
70.
Yeah, no, 120. It's about 1.2.
Oh wow, it's gone way down.
Oh,
yeah.
Is
that because of Brexit?
Yes. I mean, all sorts of stuff, but
yeah.
I
don't think it's got that much worse since Brexit. The euro's got a lot worse, I think, but I think the dollar's been
no. The pound got to nearly 1.1 at one stage.
Yeah,
but it's recovered a bit since then.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of the reasons that when the so what I tell my wife is the comics are a good investment because they're dollar based. So if the pound devalues, my comics go up because they're based on the dollar.
Okay. Is that the way it is everywhere?
Well, yeah. So comics are valued in dollars, aren't they? So if you've got if I buy, say the exchange rate used to be you could get $2 for a pound. Yeah.
Right.
So let's say I bought a $200 comic at that exchange rate that cost me £100. Yeah.
Correct.
Right. Now let's assume that now moves to $1 to the pound. My comic that I paid £100 for is now worth £200, although it's still only worth $200. Are you with me? So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. I wouldn't have even thought of that.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the many reasons I give to my wife explaining my comic habit.
It sounds like you're baffling her with BS as much as you are us, mate. You ask me. Nevs is having PC trouble. He may be coming on later. I've sent a link to Narman as well. And if anyone wants to come on, just give us a holler and we'll send you the link. Apparently Narman was trying to come on last night. I didn't see him. I didn't see his comment, so never mind. I've been really early by sending him a link tonight. You got any? You want to show us what you're going to sell on there, or was you showing last night?
No, I've got some other stuff. If you want to have a look,
good. Let's go.
Okay, so I've got some. This is some stuff I picked up. So I'm collecting. My collecting theme this year is DC Bronze Age horror.
Taking a while.
So I showed some last night, but I picked some up from the US. From Whatnot in the US, and so these are some. Now this is not Bronze Age; it is earlier, but they were available. So, and also I was hoping.
Oh wow! Look at that!
I was hoping Rayman was going to be here because we got Prince Rahman.
Oh, I like that.
I've got one Prince Rahman, only one.
So this is Eclipso and Prince Rahman, House of Secrets. 77. So this is about 1965, I think.
Have you ever noticed how much Prince Rahman is reminiscent or seems like Ra's al Ghul?
Yeah, there is a similarity.
Yeah.
There is, yeah. Actually, until you mentioned, I hadn't spotted it until you mentioned it. Yeah.
I wouldn't mind first Eclipso appearance.
No, where does he first appear, Gray?
It'd be in that
House
run,
of Mystery.
It's in okay.
Yeah.
House of Secrets. This
House
is
of Secrets. I mean, not House of Mystery.
So it's probably the first one of this run, isn't it?
Yeah.
House of Secrets 75. This is quite a nice one. The Mind Master, who was trapped.
Run, I don't know if they did anything with him after this run. I don't think he ever caught on at all. I don't remember ever seeing him.
I've never seen him in anything else.
Yeah.
You know, Eclipso was actually the big bad for the third season or second season? Second season of Stargirl.
Yes. Yeah.
He was. I thought he was great. I thought they did a great job with him.
But that was when I heard that he was going to be the big bad for that season. I thought that doesn't augur well, because in his own comic book he killed that version of Dr. Midnight, and he killed that version of Wildcat as well.
Right,
literally had both of them eaten by hyenas or jaguars. I can't remember, some kind of wild beast ate them. And I was thinking, cool, blimey, and I didn't think they would recreate that in the TV show somehow.
But they did I thought they did a great job with them. You know, there's some that I think they missed the mark, but I thought that was a really good rendition. Yeah,
it's never going to be.
Exactly I haven't seen the second series of Stargirl. I did quite enjoy the first series. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and there's 3, and they, why on earth they canceled it? I have no. And they canceled. Also, Doom Patrol is going to be canceled after this season, which is a shame. It's one of the best. Huh?
We're just saying hello to Kyle's mom.
Oh, hi, Kyle's mom.
Tell Kal-El
mom. And they're also getting rid of Titans, and both were great series.
Yeah,
and it's just like, what are you thinking? You know,
clean sweep. Yeah, exactly. Titans is pretty good. Doom Patrol is great.
Oh yeah, Doom Patrol is probably my favorite superhero series of all time. I mean, it's that good in my eyes. I also like Superman and Lois. They replaced one of the sons this season. I wasn't happy about that, but the guy that they got to replace him is pretty good. Mm-hmm. I have this sinking feeling that the show's probably going to get canceled after this season, which is too bad because it's one of the better Superman vehicles I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, but he's going to start Superman all over again, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, James, I love James Gunn, but I'm not fond of what he's doing right now. I mean, I understand there not being a third or a second Black Adam movie because the first one kind of wasn't that great. But he's I mean, in Shazam 2 hasn't done that great. Supposedly,
a couple of my friends have given it really good reviews.
I have seen good reviews.
So Alan, my mate, Comic Collector Geek, quite enjoyed it. He gave it a 7 or 8, and
Triple G like it as
Triple G really liked it as well. So
see, I want to see it in the theater. I really do.
Yeah,
but it's a shame because you have 2 guys coming in to take over the entire DCU or DCCU, I should say. And it's, I don't know. I think they gave him too much power because some of this stuff should have been dictated by finances. I feel, but you know.
Well, I'm not going to criticize until they do until they produce something.
But I will tell you this: what's really upset me the most is Peacemaker was quite a good series.
Yeah.
But Pat Boyette has yet to get any credit, and he was co-creator of the character at Charlton.
Okay.
And he was also, I think I probably told you this before, he's also the lead anchorman on the #1 rated news program here in San Antonio.
Oh, is he? Okay.
And he gave it all up. Well, he started making movies too while he was still a newscaster. He made a couple horror movies that were not terrible. And then he decided his looks were waning to him. He's in his early 40s, and he decided, I'll just leave broadcasting entirely and go to Charlton and draw for them, which is basically what he did the rest of his life. So pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing guy.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
But I do wish they'd give him credit. It really upsets me.
Yeah. So I've got some House of Secrets. House of Secrets one. Oh, these are later ones. These are the
when they turn to horrible.
This one's right. This guy's come home and looking for his wife. He's obviously a big game hunter, and she appears to. I bet she's a bit of a devil in bed. But
yeah. She's a tiger, at least.
She's a tiger in bed, yeah.
Kitten in the kitchen, tiger in the bedroom.
Yeah, I think she's taking it a bit too literally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, she's having trouble getting on by it.
2-8, fun cover. Dad, I'd like you to meet the man who saved my life.
Ooh.
Doo-doo, he's the Invisible Man.
It's the man who wasn't there. He wasn't there again today. I wish that man would go away.
Yes, indeed. House of Secrets 125. There's I wouldn't run off with that kitten if I was you, little girl. Mum might not be pleased.
Creepy. Giant cat.
A Secrets of Haunted House. This is number 15. This is me and Gray are competing to complete Secrets of Haunted House.
Yeah.
Well, it's a relatively low run, isn't it?
43 or 44.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're not as easy to find either. I don't think so.
No, they're not that easy to find.
I thought that was the stupidest title of all their.
Yeah, I think it's missing a word. It should be Secrets of the Haunted House, not Secrets of Haunted House.
Of Haunted House.
Bug me.
The guy who owned its name was John Haunted. Haunted House.
Yeah. A night. This is in really good condition. There you enter the House of Mystery, number 280. 3 stories.
Oh wow!
Nice.
What
you could do about that.
This is a Mike Kaluta cover.
Yeah, he did some great ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I showed one last night where he'd actually signed it by putting his name on one of the tombstones. And here you can see he's signed it here. Look, you can see Mike Kaluta.
Oh, I love that.
And this is a Neil Adams cover. Not one of his best, I don't think, but it does get a premium because it's Neil Adams.
Oh, I've got that one.
Yeah, that's one of my least favorite Adams covers.
I agree. I don't think it's particularly great. It's okay.
Yeah, it's all right. Because I got that in a batch of House of Mystery. The one I got was the lowest grade of the lot with a big corner torn off. So I had to buy it. I couldn't have it with a corner torn off. It was a little corner, but all right. But it was like literally a third of the corner. So I gave it to someone and bought myself another copy of it because I couldn't have it without the full cover.
And Forbidden Tales of Dark Mansion.
See, these all sound the same. See, I mean, they're all house related. They're all like it's so weird.
It's
a house. It's a mansion.
It's nowhere scary than home, though, is there?
So this one is in the perfect Bronze Age because it starts in 72 and it finishes in 73, 74.
And who did that cover? That cover's
it's a really nice cover, isn't it? I don't know who's done it. It's not signed.
Aren't those Gothic Mansion ones like Gothic Romance kind of thing? Like
the first, those are the really expensive ones. The first issue, I think it's called something like Forbidden Love Secrets of something, and they're really
Secrets
expensive.
of Forbidden Love or something like that.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And they're really pricey, and they've got Neil Adams covers, and and then they changed the title after about 2 or 3 because they realised the love angle wasn't working.
Well, Dark Shadows went off the air, is what happened, and so that yeah. Hey, Nevs.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Boy.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you doing?
What are you drinking there?
I am having a cup of coffee. Just generic, non-sponsored coffee. How are you lot?
I'm also having a cup of coffee.
Yeah, me too. I'm having coffee as well.
There we go. We're all very tired men, I think.
I'm keeps us going. Dry. I've got nothing. I am drinkless.
You're drinkless.
You're a man without beverage.
Oh, mate. Beverage.
Go get a beverage.
Yeah. Okay. I'll show you what I read today, shall I?
Yeah.
I'll show you what I read today. Finally finished off this run. It's kind of a modernly kind of one. I got a couple of them in a like a mystery box. Someone bought me a mystery box as an act of kindness kind of thing, and so I quite like the first few issues. So I thought I'd get the rest of the run. And to be honest, the first few issues that I got were the best ones. After that, it got a little bit. But if it shifts over screen, I'll be able to show you. Okay, yeah. So it's the season 1 of Morrison's Green Lantern take.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What is that?
Green Lantern.
It's
Grant Morrison on Green Lantern. Take it
Is that a
Liam
metal
Sharp
cover?
doing the art.
Yeah, Liam Sharp art, I think. Yeah.
I must
But yeah,
confess,
first
even as
few
a
issues-
Grant Morrison fan, I've not read it. What's it like?
First few issues are quite good, actually. I quite didn't mind it. I mean, I saw a lot of people sort of like a few people online saying, "Oh, not very good," kind of thing. But the ones I read, I thought, "Yeah, this is all right. I quite like this." But then
That's
I
a great
finally
cover.
got I think I've had the first 3, and I thought I'll try and get them all. So and then I'll read them all in one. I've actually read them all today.
And what series is this?
This Green Lantern.
Oh god, it's like volume
season
12 or
of
something.
Morrison. Don't ask me what volume it is of Green Lantern. Volume 4 or 5 or something. I'm not too sure.
Quite like that cover.
I think it started shipping about 5 years ago, maybe a bit earlier.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It came out 2018 or 2019.
Oh, okay. A bit more recent than that.
Well, it's 4 years ago.
That's about 5 years ago, isn't it? It's about 5 years ago now. So
Yeah,
That's
about 5 years
not a
ago.
bad guess.
yeah.
Hey, we're in 2023.
Yeah, it wasn't too,
oh my
it wasn't
God.
too bad, but later issues got a little bit. He has some like interesting sort of ideas, but they're kind of like I don't know, didn't make much sense to be honest.
Oh, I love that.
The covers
really
are awesome,
follow them.
though.
You end up not following them after a while.
That's y'all's favorite one too, Kilowog.
No, I don't think he was in the series.
And we're back.
Oh, I thought
No, he's on there.
I thought he was on the cut. Yeah, he's right there.
Yeah,
That
you
is
didn't actually see
Kilowog.
him in the story. I don't think he was featured once. I don't think. I didn't see him.
He's only on the cover.
Yeah, I think he's only on the cover. There was a bit of a good cliffhanger where it looks like he's going undercover to
That's a
become
cool
Dark
cover.
Star,
Yeah.
because they've got some bomb that's going to destroy the universe, so, and he has to kill Adam Strange. So that was a little bit of a to prove that he's really a bad guy. So that wasn't a bad little cliffhanger. And somehow he fakes the death, but he didn't explain how he faked the death. And this
The
one,
covers are pretty good. I quite like the cover.
Yeah, they're real good.
it's all right. I mean, it's not one that I'd be rushing to read again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Certainly wouldn't rush to read it again. I won't be bothering to pick up season 2. It hasn't made me go, "Oh, must get season 2."
So it's
Why are
not
they
like
calling
on-
them seasons? I don't understand that.
Morrison did 2 12-parters, 2 12-part runs of Green Lantern. So this was a 12-part run, and then he's done another one.
Then there was another one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was a
let's
bit
make
of
comics
cliffhanger,
even
but I'm
more
like-
confusing.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I don't really care what happens, to be honest. I wasn't
Yeah.
confused enough with this by the end. It wasn't like it wasn't necessarily a chore. Like it wasn't one of those ones where it wasn't like I wouldn't call it a chure, but it just wasn't really, it wasn't grabbing me.
You're not chomping at the bit for 2
No,
weeks
exactly.
until it comes out, like we were when we were younger, and there were actually good series out there.
It's like he makes things too confusing for me sometimes, and there's too many characters being thrown in. There's enough characters already in the bloody world, and then he's at the end there was like he introduced the multiverse Green Lantern, so it's like Green Lanterns of the multiverse. It's like a multiverse Green Lantern Corps, and he's hooking up with
There's about 100. There's about 100 Green Lanterns anyway.
well, yeah, there's more than that. It's,
yeah.
It's obviously. Well, Earth is sector 2814, so there's definitely at least 2,814 Green Lanterns, and then each sector's got like at least two members now. But this is like he met up with Carol Ferris of Universe 15 or something like that, and she's a Star Sapphire, and it all gets a little bit confusing. And
A little bit?
Like, well, I don't really care either now. I've given up caring about it.
Okay. So you guys will know about this, but I am quite interested in. Like, I'm sure there's an answer to this that makes sense. Now, I stopped reading Green Lantern around 1994, but I only really came in for the Hal Jordan goes crazy and kills hundreds, if not thousands, of Green Lanterns, and then becomes
all the
Parallax. Yeah, and then he becomes Parallax and wipes out billions of universes to try and reset time, so Mongol hasn't destroyed Coast City, right? So as far as I can work out, and assuming this is all in continuity, because God knows with DC, Hal Jordan is a genocidal lunatic on a level that even Darkseid or Thanos couldn't even dream of.
Mm-hmm.
Something must have happened between all that genocide, and I don't even think genocide is the right word. I think you have to create another word to
I'm not sure how many people he
properly
killed. I don't
describe
remember.
the amount of murder Hal Jordan has committed.
I can tell you everything, mate.
Well, he wiped out billions of universes in 0 hour, right?
Right.
How do you
I
get
can't remember
from
what happened.
I'm a bit
Zero
mental, I missed the
did
people
it actually work? I don't
Mongol
know. Did it
killed,
get rebooted
I'm
after
going
that
to kill
happened?
lots
I
of
don't know,
people to the rest of the Justice
Yeah.
League going, oh, look, there's Hal Jordan, multi-murderer. I'm sorry.
Right.
What?
So it
Go
turns
on,
out
I'm
it was
sure
the
there's no explanation.
yeah. Parallax was the who was like the avatar of the Fear Lantern, the Yellow Lantern, and he'd been trapped inside the Green Lantern, and he was the one that provided the yellow impurity all that time. So Hal Jordan was corrupted and like basically, you know, mind controlled by Parallax, the Fear entity, the Fear avatar that have been hidden
Oh, it's
inside
a
the
Dark
Green
Phoenix
power
riff.
battery. Sorry.
It's like Dark Phoenix,
Yeah.
right? Jean
Very,
Grey
very
kills
much
all those
so.
people
It
with
was-
the Dark Phoenix bit. Okay.
See, every power battery has got an avatar of it now. So it's rather weirdly, Predator is the avatar of the Star Sapphire Love Lantern. Weirdly, Parallax was the Fear Lantern. I'm not sure. I think maybe Ion might be the one from the Willpower Lantern, the Green Lantern. But anyway, that's he ended up getting killed. Seemingly being killed, but then he actually sacrificed himself to save the world in Final Night. In Final Night, the sun went out, and he sacrificed himself to reignite the sun so everyone would live. Then he spent a couple of years as Spectre. They said, like, rather, you know, didn't deserve heaven. He certainly didn't deserve heaven because what he's done. Didn't deserve hell,
Right.
but they deserved, like, so he was made. Jim Corrigan was like, so you can go to heaven now. You've done your time, and now Hal Jordan's going to be the host for the Spectre, and he changed Spectre from being a spirit of vengeance to a spirit of redemption, sort of to echo his need for redemption, kind of thing. And after a few years, somehow he came back alive again in Rebirth. I can't quite remember how that happened. That's the thing we've got.
I have to say, I've never been a Green Lantern reader. I don't think I've ever read a Green Lantern comic, and having heard all that, I never want to read. I never want to read Green Lantern. How does a new kid, 12-year-old, deal with all that? I mean,
I know.
It has got a bit much. Yeah, definitely.
Once we have Tony Tolan
And the
on
story
here, I
I'm
think
referencing
Tony might
is
have
like
left DC because of all the
50
Green
years
Lantern
into
stuff
story?
going on.
Really?
Yeah, there's something about a bunch of people left DC because they were really screwing up major characters, and these were people that were getting paid to do it. But like people like Tony Tolan, they just said, "This is bullshit. You're ruining a character who's been around since the '40s. I mean, if you want to go back to the golden age, but you know, here you guys are not doing right by this character." And you know, I think that shows a lot when people will just up and walk away because they don't agree with something that's, I mean, to me, it's a character that they really should have preserved and not gone, like batshit crazy over.
Yeah.
You know, but you know.
Yeah, there was that little period though, didn't they, where they wanted to they sort of replaced, Barry got replaced with Wally after getting killed during Crisis, and he lost his.
And Wally was a great Flash, but I in fact I liked that Flash series a lot.
Yeah, it was a good series.
It was well written, it was well drawn.
Yeah, they introduced all the Speed Force and quite a few elements, didn't they?
You know, Mike Barron wrote quite a few of those. We can have Mike Barron on anytime we want. To me, the best stuff he ever did was Nexus, but I really do and did enjoy his Flash. I also enjoyed his take on the Punisher. He did like 80 issues of one of the Punisher books.
You can invite anyone you want on, mate. Don't expect me to think of good questions. I'll let you guys think of the good questions. I just pop up with something inane and stupid every half an hour.
That is nonsense, Ray. You do ask good questions.
Just so you know, I'm awake still.
Every week or so. No, I'm kidding. Well, I'm missing Kyle today. I wish Kyle was here.
Yeah, same here, man. I haven't heard from him since I sent that last message. Is he?
Yeah.
Has anyone heard?
Yeah,
he's cut off all his social media stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen it. He comes onto my Whatnot shows.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's good. You need to show me how to do that.
So I see
need
the
to come to
plug
your
you've
show
put in
too.
there, Mark. Tell us about your Whatnot show so everyone watching
He has
knows what you're
been. He's
talking
showed
about.
us a few comics already.
I've already
Oh,
done
has
it,
he?
Mark.
Okay.
I've already done it.
He's shown his House of Secrets. He's got some early House of Secrets he's going to be trying to sell. He's also doing the Mart. Are you going to London Mart on Sunday, Nevs?
Where else would I be?
I've got some
I'll be there.
freebies for you. If you
Playing
can't,
cricket on the green outside the village hall, maybe. I don't know.
yeah, you need to come and find me and Gray when you're there because I've got some freebies.
Yeah,
for you.
non-distinct as you two are, I reckon I'll find you anyway.
Do you?
Well,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The only cricket I play is Jiminy.
Yeah.
When you wish upon a star.
See, now you've
Okay.
got the Americans thinking that's all we do. We don't like cricket's not a game that most people in England play. It's so up on the
No.
upper echelon of society. It's
Is it like polo, kind of?
The ball's
No.
too hard
Yeah.
for my liking.
Yeah,
The ball's too hard.
it's a sort of thing
I only
that people
think
have
I
lots
don't
of
know
money
how
to
to
sit
catch
and
that
watch.
bloody
for
ball.
2 days.
It's like a blinking bit of concrete. Them blinking cricket balls, isn't they?
Yeah, when I was
I-
so when I was
Yeah.
at school, I went to an English public school, right?
Yeah.
And
Alright.
I thought you said you went to an English pub school.
Mm.
We
I
had
mean,
a pub there
in
at
this
school.
country, pretty much
It was like
the same
private
thing.
school,
Like-
like Harry Potter, but not fun. And
What
so
house was you in? Was you in Slytherin?
I was in a house called Kipling after Rudyard Kipling.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So
No,
during
you weren't. It was named after the apple pies.
yeah, there you go. Yeah. So
Kipling.
during our sort of
I don't know,
scripture,
mate, I've
we
never
used to call it scripture then because it was all Church of England.
Right.
And the person who was the priest, we had our own vicar who ran the services and things, and he ran the scripture lessons. So you went to his scripture lessons, right? And he used to take a cricket ball with him, right? And if you weren't paying attention, he threw the cricket ball at you. I can tell you, everybody paid attention during the scripture lesson.
Bloody hell!
I've done.
I
I'm
hope
not
there's
thinking.
time for it eventually.
Ah,
Wow.
not some sense in those kids.
You
What-
couldn't get away with that these days.
What century were you going to school, Mark? What
Well,
century was that exactly?
This was
That's
late-
thinking medieval.
This was early 70s. So we still
I
had
know-
the cane. We still had
Yeah.
the cane, and
I know we still had the slipper in my day.
You'll like this, Bill. We had fagging.
Oh gosh.
A thing called fagging.
Oh, here we
So-
go. Yeah, go on. This is worse than explaining Captain Marvel and Shazam to Americans. Yeah, go on.
Yeah,
Go on. Tell him what fagging is.
please continue.
So what used to happen if you've read Tom Brown's School Days? It's the same
It's
as
like
in that.
false servitude,
So
isn't it?
Yes. So when you came in new as a new boy, age 12 or 13, you were allocated a prefect who was 18 or 19, and you had to make his bed, clean his shoes, clean his study, make his tea. Okay. That was called fagging. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rightly so.
That doesn't sound too different from what the Americans have as hazing, right?
Hazing.
Like hazing
You know,
is not dissimilar. In the
we used to play.
houses.
We used to play a game where someone would get the football and everybody would pile on, and they used to call it smear the queer. And of course, you couldn't call it that now, but when you said fagging, it made me think of smear the queer. So sorry, folks.
Yeah, it doesn't mean although quite a
This
lot
is
of
a
that
hell of
went
a
on.
thing.
You know, this is 70s, folks. Come on.
Yeah.
So
Let me show you my other comics I've read recently. Then, seeing as
All right, before we get any more childhood abuse.
now we can get to
right.
Batman. This is the Batman lot I got off Splat Comics recently, and I've read them all now. All been read.
is that a Gene Colan cover?
Oh, I'm not sure, mate.
Can you bring it back for a second?
That one was Colin. That one was Colin.
That's gorgeous.
Oh yeah,
I love that.
You're
Look at that. Isn't that
But a
great?
man,
You're taking all the best comics out of Splat before I get there.
I got these all for less than £2. I was well happy with that.
Wow.
Early 80s Batman comics for less than £2.
For $2?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, less than like they're 150, 175, that kind of price. So I was like,
wow.
Hell yeah. And it was like filling gaps that I had in my run. So
wow.
And there's quite a lot of Nocturna in this one as well. She never really came back, I don't think. She's a quite a cool character. Nocturna.
I love that cover, by the way. That's one of my just did. That's one of my favorite covers of all time. I love that cover. You don't even see Batman. You just see his fist.
I love the timing of Batman there.
There's Nocturna. She's a beauty.
That's also a Gene Colan cover, isn't it?
No, that's an Infantino.
Colan and Giordano.
Colan and Giordano.
Yeah.
Oh, Batman was a player in this era. It was Nocturna, villainous Nocturna one week, Catwoman villainous the next week. He was like, he's never met a female supervillain. He didn't want a knob, I don't think.
That's just after Silver St. Cloud as well, isn't it?
Yeah, around that time. Also, Vicky Vale was and also Alfred's daughter from France was around at this period as well.
Oh yeah.
And he was breaking all their hearts and letting them all down, as he does. He's a busy boy, you know.
He's the back player.
Exactly.
Well, that's a nice hand grenade.
Yeah.
Pat Broderick.
There was a few.
Calendar Man. It was quite a challenge when he first appeared, Calendar Man, but later on he became literally he never even got him, one panel knockout guy after the first few times he was shown, I think.
Yeah. I don't think he's been used since Long Halloween.
No. Even then he wasn't really in that much, was he? He was kind of like...
No, he was just kind of explaining the plot of the story to Batman.
Yeah. He was was he not like Hannibal Lecter in the prison being spoken to by the CIA agent?
Yeah.
Clarice Starling to his Hannibal Lecter.
Can I show my thing because it's really relevant to what's happened this week?
You're going to show your thing?
I'm going to show my thing live on camera.
Let me get
unless you have more to show.
Wait for the full screen to come up because it's a bit slow.
Yeah, wait a minute. I want to be careful. He said he's going to show his thing. So,
well, my man thing. It's going to be my giant size man thing live on screen. So, I'm going to bring this thing to the news that's come up in the last 2 hours or so. So, I don't know if everyone's seen this, but it was just up on Variety.com and it's since been verified by a lot of sources now. Is that Disney has absorbed Marvel entirely. It's not an independent studio for them now. The guy whose name I can't remember, Ron Perlmutter, whatever, he's gone. So now all of Marvel is now just one more Disney studio.
Shit.
So the thing that made me think about this, and this was a thing I was going to show on the show anyway, was this. This is the manga of Cruella. Now, Cruella was a fantastic movie from a couple of years back starring Emma Stone about what Cruella did before she became Cruella de Vil, right?
Yeah.
Now,
did they steal it from this?
No, it's the other way up. This is a manga based on the film.
Oh,
so that, to me, speaks volumes, right? Because if you go back maybe 1994, 1995, this is when Ronald Perlman was really pushing Marvel to put out as much product as possible. So the X-Men books were 12 or 15 books. There were 7 Spider-Man books. Every anniversary they could possibly put out. They could put out, you had Barbie and Barbie Fashion. You had the Marvel music line. The shelves were just full of Marvel stuff. But the stuff that everyone forgets is Marvel did really good adaptations of Disney stuff. So you get Aladdin, you'd get Beauty and the Beast. It had tons and tons of really good Disney adaptation. But now if we go forward to, I think I picked this up last year, right? It's 2022. I'm going into a bookshop, a proper bookshop, big book chain who I won't give the advertising revenue to. I go into their manga section and Disney has got a manga out based on Cruella. Despite the fact, and I think this is key, this is a key to everything that's happened today, despite the fact that they literally own a comics publisher. They don't have faith in the comics publisher they've bought enough to actually get Marvel to do a Cruella comic.
Yeah,
so they license it out as a manga, which to me, like, we've bought this, but we know they're so bad at distributing and advertising their comics that we're actually going to license this out to Viz Media, which is who published this, and give the license to them rather than give it to ourselves.
Well, they license out Star Wars stuff to IDW. So it's the same thing.
Wouldn't you though?
Yes,
because it's been my running argument with Marvel is, Marvel obviously had the golden ticket when they bought the rights to distribute Miracle Man. If you actually buy the Marvel reprints, they are printed on the worst paper possible. They were hyper expensive. It was like $5 an issue, and it had a fairly irregular shipping schedule. Whereas you look at IDW's reproductions of things like The One or Starstruck or The Rocketeer, they are beautiful, high production value stuff.
IDW is great stuff.
So wouldn't you just, if you were Disney, why don't we just go like, so we could use Marvel, who've got the track record of this really bad Miracle Man thing, or we can use IDW, who put some time and effort and have lots of people working there who actually care about what they do. Why use Marvel at all? And if I'm top tier at Marvel right now, I would be putting my CV together, because I've been making the argument about Marvel absolutely ignoring the younger readers, alienating the older readers with changes made to the character which have been unnecessary. The only time they've made a change which I thought was in any way significant was when they started saying, hey, why couldn't we have Spider-Gwen? Why couldn't we have a Puerto Rico Spider-Man? Why don't we use these licenses to expand the possibilities of who we could sell these comics to? And then, of course, when the retailers suddenly said, and I'm still curious to know which retailer said this, they said, we don't like this woke thing. It's like, well, this isn't about you. This is about expanding the readership so that there will be people reading these characters in 50 years. Why not have Sam Wilson be Captain America? And if you want to read Steve Rogers' Captain America, hey, do you know what? There's 50 years of Steve Rogers' Captain America. You can read it any time you want. So now Marvel have spent decades, literally decades, since maybe Avengers Disassembled, maybe House of M, Civil War, where they created the business model of, here is a 10-part crossover that goes across everything. And when we get to the final issue, the price point of that final issue will go up, and that will eventually become the new standard. And this is around the same time, of course, now we're talking about DC doing standard comics at $5 a piece. I think they have had those licenses for this long, even under Disney's regime, and they haven't done anything. They've had these movies, the best promotion these characters could ever have had, by the movies, by the video games, by the Netflix shows, by the Disney Plus shows, and the new comics can't even break 50K on pre-orders with variant cover incentives. So I do not blame Disney looking at this like company and going, you guys can't do this. And we need to start again before these characters are forgotten. And yeah, if I'm at that top tier of Marvel, I'd be like, who else might hire me? Because I am the person running the ship. I've made these creative decisions and these publishing decisions, and they haven't worked. And every retailer has been saying to them, you need to change your business model. You need to change how you put these things out, because you have lost that core child audience that should have been encouraged over the decades. And now, you lose that audience. You've been ignoring them since at least Secret Wars in 1986. And you go from books that are selling close to 1 million copies to not even able to break 50K on pre-orders with variant cover incentives. I'm surprised this didn't happen sooner. What do you guys think?
Well, considering that most comic stores now are almost more toy stores than they are comic stores. And that's
sure, but why wouldn't they be? But why wouldn't they be?
Well, what I'm saying though is that the comics suck so much, people would rather buy toys than buy the comics that they're based on.
I don't know.
I think the level of quality in comics across the board, maybe not so much with Image, but everything else is just piss freaking poor. They don't care about continuity anymore. They've let the multiverse take over and go, oh, well, this isn't that Spider-Man. It's this Spider-Man. It's not this Fantastic Four. It's this Fantastic. I'm tired of that. I want to get back to just solid stories in one universe for the most part. I don't mind like annual crossovers or something like that, but it's so confusing. I can imagine how kids can't even fathom what's going on, and just not even wanting to get involved in I'll just go watch the TV series.
Right. And a subscription to Disney Plus is cheaper than 2 comics.
Yeah.
You have to play in the real world. You can't this is a special economy you have for comics.
I mean, one of the things I'll say is that I haven't read a superhero. The only superhero comic I'm reading is Miracle Man, and that's a standalone story. It's running in its own universe at the moment. It is anyway. And I agree with you, man. Everything I read is independence. Or I have to say this for DC, things like Nice House on the Lake, some of the DC horror stuff that's really good using James Tynion, but Boom Comics, I like them. And one of the things that really, really, really pisses me off with Marvel is the crap quality of the paper. As soon as you get a comic, it's so thin and crappy that as soon as you get it, it needs pressing. And that really annoys me. Whereas DC, they will give you a card cover, and it looks great. So I have to say it doesn't disappoint me at all. They need a new direction. But having said that, I'm not that big a fan of Disney either, who've just laid off 7,000 people.
This is part of that. What you said is like that 7,000 people incorporates the layoffs at Marvel. It also incorporates the people going to PayPal, NPR.
Wait, Disney owns PayPal?
Yeah. I know, right? I didn't know that either.
That's weird.
Anyway, so
I had NPR. I was a big fan of that.
My big issue is they've stopped telling stories.
Yes, exactly.
What they're doing is telling. They've got agenda.
Yes.
We've got an agenda about all white males are evil, all women are fantastic. I'm sorry, it's dead.
You're gonna have to quantify this one.
Sorry, you're gonna have to quantify it. Just look at anything.
I don't think adding to the diversity of the characters means that white men are evil.
Do you see the Warrior Queen movie?
No.
Unbelievable.
Warrior Queen.
Yeah. It was a movie.
What's Warrior Queen?
It was a movie that came out about 3 or 4 months ago with the woman who plays, the woman in Suicide Squad who plays.
Margot Robbie.
Yeah. So she plays the queen of an African tribe. Okay.
Right. But she's white.
No. This is a black. No, the woman in Suicide Squad. No, not Margot Robbie. The woman who plays. Violet. Yes.
Yeah, Davis.
Violet Davis.
Yeah.
Plays, and this tribe in America, history is that they were actually biggest slavers. They basically were slavers, and they sold their African people into slavery. And not only that, they portray it as a matriarchy. It wasn't. The guys were in control. It's completely rewritten history in order to portray it as strong women, just nonsense, absolutely nonsense.
I'm not disputing your take on the movie because I haven't seen it, but I don't understand what this has to do with Marvel.
Okay, right, sorry, but it's the same. It's the same type of thing. You look at the output from Marvel; they're selling an agenda. The She-Hulk, Hulk is bad and he's pathetic and he's going to be laughed at because he's male. Whereas, She-Hulk, she's cool, and all the male characters.
But She-Hulk's been cool since the 80s. Like, when John Byrne took over the She-Hulk, that was his whole thing, that she was an intelligent character. This isn't new.
I haven't got any problem with. I haven't got any problem with her being an intelligent character. What I have a problem with is that every single white male is an idiot, or evil, or the only character.
Missed the Marvel comics.
No, this is I'm talking about the movie stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about.
I've heard
because Born Again is really weird if you're right.
Hey,
Daredevil Born Again, that's just around the corner, right? So if Mark's
I'm
right,
hoping the Daredevil stuff is going to come out of it. So the one redeeming feature for me on She-Hulk was the Daredevil stuff. I thought that was pretty good. And so
I haven't seen it. I ain't got the channel.
Yeah, I'm hoping the Daredevil series is going to be different.
But we're going to get
one problem. I kind of wish I hadn't brought it up. The one thing I wanted to start saying was my main problem with Born Again is this. I've been seeing the advertising for this show for Born Again for the last year. And there are 4 words that Marvel and Disney seem to have forgotten to mention in any bit of advertising. And those 4 words are Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli. Because I don't know how you possibly have the audacity to put out a show called Daredevil Born Again based on that storyline, and you don't say this story is due to the work of these guys.
New series?
Yeah.
There's a new series of Daredevil, and it's called subtitled Born Again. Now, if it's not based on the Miller and Mazzucchelli comics, then I retract my statement entirely. But it seems to me that title resonance.
But isn't that where the TV show left off?
I'm behind on the TV show.
Okay,
so I don't know. Is my answer. But
like the final season, which I guess was third or fourth season, it led up to that. So this is a natural progression.
Does it finish with Karen Page giving away the identity?
Would have been the 4th season anyway.
I think we're getting some lag here. It feels like even how we took it over each other.
It's such an egregious and disrespectful absence of credit.
They're not in the credits.
Yeah, they'll get credited there, but I think what Nev's saying is they don't really give the original material the due it deserves. Right?
I'm sure he's right. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be correct. That'll be correct. Because they're not trying to sell this to you and me, Nevs. They're not trying to sell it to, the people who read the Frank Miller stuff originally. They're trying to sell it to a new audience.
Right. Most of who don't even know who Frank Miller is.
Exactly. They won't have a clue. And Frank Miller is cancelled anyway.
Is he?
Frank Miller is not allowed. He's annoyed the woke brigade.
Well, it's not. No, it's. I mean, there is some of that, but what he really did was he proved he was a jackass. He sued his ex-wife for artwork. Now, David Anthony Kraft's widow is having to deal with him in court because she was auctioning off a piece of art he did for a cover of Comics Interview that he claims David Kraft said he lost, which, I mean, that's Frank Miller's word against a dead man who can't say anything.
Yeah.
And the guy's worth so much money that it seems it's like Gwyneth Paltrow being sued for $300,000. Just pay the freaking money. Just get over yourself. Just draw another drawing like that. I mean, I'm just saying it's ridiculous. And so I think it's not so much the woke part, but people now know he's a freaking asshole. And that's the thing. He's an asshole. Woke or not, he's an asshole,
Yeah, he got into trouble now. He got into trouble because after 9/11, he did some things which were anti-Muslim.
Well, he was going to do Holy Terror was supposed to be a Batman series.
Oh, Batman Holy Terror. Yeah. Sorry, Catman.
Right. And then DC goes, no, we're not going to go there. Terror. So then he basically makes a Batman kind of character and does it that way. Yeah, but just so ridiculous. I mean,
I'm lost. I don't know any of
he
this.
has to be fair, right? retracted quite a lot of the things he said and about what he said about the Occupy movement, and claims he was extremely mentally unwell at the time. And this is at least, God, this is like maybe 15 years ago, I'm thinking. All of this happened.
Yeah.
He's kind of sorted himself out quite since then.
Yeah.
And incidentally, I was to bring up, for no real reason, my favorite David Chappelle quote, "Cocaine is a hell of a drug." No reason, just thought I'd put that out there.
Who said that? Gwyneth Paltrow?
David Chappelle quote.
Oh, David Chappelle. Okay.
Yeah, David Paltrow's well known for talking about cocaine.
Okay, yeah, I don't. I've no idea. I don't listen to. I'm not listening to him. I don't think. But yeah, talk about. I mean,
Richard Pryor was famous for that too.
Oh,
what
God,
happened to Nevs?
Heroin, wasn't it? Richard Pryor. I thought he was at the heroin. I thought I heard.
No,
anyway,
it was coke. He was
it
freebasing when he lit himself on fire.
Oh, that's what he was doing when he set us on fire. I knew it was,
Yeah.
it was something to do with fire. I didn't know you did that with cocaine. Other than the old beer, I don't really. I'm not a fan of drugs. So. He's trying to kill me twice.
You never gave him a try. No, I'm kidding.
No, I don't want to.
Joking.
Sorry,
Yeah,
my internet's
stuff.
Oh, look, Nevs is here twice.
I don't. Sort of...
I am the Harvey Dent of podcasts.
That's right. Hey. So has anybody seen that? I don't like it, but I still watch it because it comes on after Superman. But that Gotham Knights, have you guys seen that yet?
I don't get to see anything, mate. Seriously, there's so much stuff I've not seen.
It's just not good. So... Don't bother.
Yeah, okay. I've heard bad reviews about it.
Yeah,
it's live action or cartoon.
It's Batman dies. The son doesn't know he's Batman. Carrie Kelly is black, and she's Robin.
This is the plot of the video game Batman Gotham Knights that you're describing.
No, this is
like
the TV
video
series
game that came out maybe 3 or 4 months ago. I know, but there's also a multiplayer game called Gotham Knight where
but I don't think they're connected.
It seems to be based on the Rocksteady. Really?
Maybe it is.
I don't think they are.
This is like Bad Lieutenant.
I'll have to go look it up.
Okay, I believe you.
I don't.
I believe
so,
you, but the plot
because I think
and
Gotham
name
Knights
would suggest
has Batman pretty.
Yeah,
prominently in it.
Has been a series of Batman have been Gotham Knight series before, though, hasn't it? There's been
this is the TV series.
There was a comic called Gotham Knights.
Basically, Batman.
It was in that place at like
dead.
Legends or
How
Shadow of the
exciting is that?
I can't remember.
You know, and you have Harvey Dent.
Well,
in
it's
there.
the danger of the multiverse.
Yeah.
So this is the thing I was going to say earlier on, but it applies here. The danger of things like the multiverses, on the one hand, it opens up so many possibilities of creativity where you can have things like Spider-Gwen, or you can have things like Miles Morales, or you can just say, this is the universe where Aunt May became Golden Oldie, the Herald of Galactus, right? And that is a cool possibility. But the problem with that is, if you keep on playing the multiverse,
she's my favorite hero.
The multiverse.
Oh, mate.
Golden Oldie was great. It's like one of the very few Marvel comics I still have.
Golden Oldie. I love that.
I didn't realize how dangerous it was to bring up. But the danger of that is, and like this was epitomized brilliantly when Darkseid kills Batman in Final Crisis, right? But he's not dead, he's sent back in time. But for all intents and purposes, in the DC universe, Batman is dead. And when we have like a year or so of other people being Batman, and Bruce Wayne has to work his way back through time. But at the same time that Batman is dead in the regular Batman comics, you've also got like the other Batman licensed stuff where he's in the Kevin Smith series and he's in a Legends of Dark Knight thing and he's in whatever graphic novels are out of continuity. So if you say, hey, look, we've got the multiverse, then it doesn't matter who dies. So it takes away any possible resonance of the story, because you know if the multiverse is infinite, right, and you kill one Batman, there's an infinite amount more. So why care? Right? So if you've got Gotham Knights and you're saying like, well, in this universe, Batman's dead. Well, okay, I can guarantee, what's today, Wednesday? I can guarantee this week a new Batman comic shipped, which features maybe 2 or 3 different Batmans. So again, it's a fantastic card, but if you keep playing it, and I suspect this is what's happened to comics, well, superhero comics, you keep on saying it doesn't matter what happens to these characters. well, if Iron Man, if the Wasp dies, well, she wasn't killed. She was actually sent to another universe. Or Peter Parker dies. Well, he didn't. The Doctor took over his brain, but then he came back. There's no punch. And if you take away any reason to care, then why pay for this stuff? Why bother? Why bother coming back when you know? Hang on. The death of Wolverine.
But that's been the same. That's been the same in comics forever. I mean, you know, the famous.
But it's never been quite so egregious, has it?
Oh, come on!
Death
of Superman. When was that? That was
30 years ago.
Yeah,
93.
So,
I remember working in the comic. It was like one of my first weeks in the comic shop, and the place was flooded.
So
but
30 years ago, everybody went out and we got the black covers, and everybody went out and bought
the back covers,
commemorative armband.
And then a year later, he was back. You know,
he was never going to be good for good, though, was he? Same as Batman's back wasn't going to be broken forever.
But let's be honest. We always knew that's what was going to happen. Right, Mark?
But it wasn't as frequent as a thing as it is now. I mean, like, Superman and Batman and Green Lantern were a series of specific one-off situations, but they didn't keep doing it. And it wasn't the course as it is now, I think. And, my personal thing was, I actually thought the death of Wolverine was one of the best Marvel stories of the last 20 years. I thought they covered so much ground. There's so much story with Wolverine that was just sitting untouched, and they just went, okay, this plot thread, and now he's dead. And then you went, oh, he's actually dead. And the stories they told, and I say the same thing about Superman, actually, the stories they told about the absence of Wolverine, in the same way in the death of Superman led to that World Without a Superman story, the stuff about the people around Wolverine and Superman's lives are way more interesting than the stories about Wolverine or Superman. I think that year of World Without Superman, when you had the 4 different Supermen and stuff, that was the most interesting Superman stuff I'd read ever. Because Superman is such a non-character. But Lois Lane and the Cadmus Project.
But don't you think it's laziness?
I'm shutting up now. Go on.
Don't you think it's laziness in the creators? So, you know, if you look, has there been, you know, so we've got Invincible.
No, I think...
And it didn't come from Marvel or DC. Right? And the reason why it doesn't come from Marvel or DC is because they just keep reinventing the same characters.
But they're all kind of...
Well, okay, but then if you're a creative person who's paid any attention to Marvel or DC in the last 30 years, if you look at the examples of Jack Kirby, or Chris Claremont, or Siegel and Schuster, or Frank Miller, or any number of examples, why would you, in good faith, possibly say, hey, I've got an idea for a character, I'm going to give it to DC? Why would you do that? When you could be Robert Kirkman, who gets most of the revenue from Walking Dead because he publishes it in Robert Kirkman says, do you know what? Build my cash. Now go down. Gives me the to put Walking Dead in. Why would you possibly do any except spin the wheel at Marvel and DC? I wouldn't. You know what I mean?
But this is to do with the editors. It's to do with the editorial control. Well, you know, when I used to work for a pet food company, and we owned Whiskers. Okay, and
that 8 out of 10 cats whose owners expressed a preference said their cats preferred it.
Indeed, they did, and that was while I was there. I got between being hired by them and starting my job, I got 5 pay rises because Whiskers became the #1 grocery product in Europe. Not the #1 cat, not the #1 cat food, the #1 grocery product in Europe.
That's weird.
Because people are eating it, right?
Yeah, well, cats were eating it.
Well, no. If it's a people eat cat food that can't buy food.
Okay.
Can't afford food.
Any harm.
And apparently it's a big thing in France. So I'm just saying.
And then Jim Steranko
wound up in a 5-course meal
because he paid money for Bill Finger. I didn't realize it went off.
So
your internet's crap.
I went away and then I came back and you guys are talking about cat food.
Cat food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I was making a point about branding. Okay.
Yeah.
So we owned Whiskers, and we had the number 2 in the marketplace as well, which was called Kitty Cat. And we had, we just controlled the marketplace. So whenever anybody came along and said, well, let's introduce new cat food, everybody fell off their chairs laughing and said, oh, we already own the number 1 and number 2 brands. So what happened? A small independent company came up with Felix, another cat food, that started off at 1 or 2% market share, and we didn't care about it. Now, Felix has 30% market share, because the company who had the 2 leading brands couldn't be, didn't think there was a danger from an independent brand, right? So if I'm Marvel or DC, you have to have a hothouse to develop new ideas that are different to the ones you've got to protect you from the independents who are going to come up with something different. So they, we got Kirkham with The Walking Dead. We got Kirkham with Invincible, who is a much more, I think probably the most watchable of the current superheroes, because he's got a continuous storyline that doesn't split into 43 different stories, why? But Marvel and DC didn't do it. Why? Because they'd already got these existing brands, and they're not hothousing new ideas. DC does it a bit on the horror stuff, but Marvel doesn't. It just says, well, we've got to have another Wolverine, or we've got to have another, we've got to have another Spider-Man title, or we've got to have another, it's a lack of imagination in my view.
Yep. No, you're right. And they've overexploited this shit to the point where it's not fun anymore.
No.
I think.
So, they've got to rethink it. They've got to rethink, what they're doing is they're rehashing the stuff from years ago, which worked for them, but they've got to rethink. What does the new, what trends are there in the marketplace?
Right.
What are the young, what is the current 15-year-old want? That's
manga,
different.
Unfortunately.
Manga, well, yes, but why do they want manga? Yeah, they're going to manga because they're not being satisfied by what's coming out of Marvel and DC. That's a good example, actually, Gray. The reason they go into manga is it gives them something Marvel and DC doesn't give them. So if you're sitting at Marvel and DC, you should be going, what is it that manga's giving them that we're not giving them?
Different types.
That should be that's the question they should be asking.
Right.
What do you think of all the films?
I agree 100%.
Films that have come out, how they've not managed to get kids into, because the films, the superhero films have been the big blockbusters every summer for a good 10 years now. How have they not managed to get kids who have watched them films into reading comic books? Is like, I know kids want to play their gadgets, and nowadays they want to be on their blinking mobile phones, rather than actually reading anything. But surely there must be some way they could have got these kids into becoming customers.
Well, exactly. Sure. They haven't.
No, it doesn't seem like it.
You go to a comic shop, it's full of 20, 30, and 40-year-olds.
It's dying.
I know. Yeah.
You've got to sell our collections before there's no one else left to buy them.
No, exactly.
If I was only 20 years younger, I could have every comic book in the world by the time before I died. Once all the old farts have gone, there'll be youngsters out there who are collecting now. They'll be getting action. They'll be saying, "No, I don't need an action number 1 again. I've got 5 already, mate. I don't need them." Because everyone else who collected them and wanted them is going to be gone.
So this guy who had Asperger's syndrome died recently, and his family found out he probably had one of the top 3 comic collections in the world. And they're pulling out they're pulling out an Action 1 in 7 condition. They're pulling out all this. Fantastic Four #1, like 2 or 3 issues, and it's like the family's just like, what the hell?
I saw this, Bill. It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is crazy. Yeah.
I think he was on the Asperger's. He was on the spectrum, was it? But he was a lawyer. He was a lawyer. So he had a decent.
So he was.
He had some money then. He had some money. He was obviously spending it.
His collecting habit. His wife thought he was a hoarder. She didn't know what he was doing, and she divorced him because he was just filling up room after room with this stuff. and he never talked about it. He never explained what he was doing. He didn't talk to anybody. He kept it secret.
Maybe he was scared about being bullied for being a geek.
Well, I don't know, but he well, it destroyed his marriage.
Yeah.
And he never reaped any reward from it because he died before he sold anything. I mean,
the kids went in trying to figure out what was what, and they come across these. You couldn't even see it. I think it was all in drawers, right?
It was amazing. I've seen about
in the room, and once they started opening these drawers, they were finding just volumes, you know, and most of it great. Most of it was slabbed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. And Nevs, we're talking about this huge collection that was just discovered about a week ago.
Okay.
In the States.
And they're making a film about it, aren't they? Calling it Selling Superman.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, what's in the collection?
Oh, I mean, it's just you name it. Batman Detective 27. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Do we know who it belonged to, or
he was a lawyer, and
he was a lawyer.
And they think he was on the spectrum, and he never told anybody about it. Mark was just saying his wife divorced him because she thought he was a hoarder, and the kids were going through his stuff and discovered it's probably one of the top 3 collections in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're pulling out Action number 1 and 7 condition, all this stuff. I mean, it's crazy.
The son has now probably given up whatever he was doing before and is now just devoting himself to selling this collection.
Well, you've only got to sell the bloody Action bloody 1.
He could sell one. He could sell one of those comics and be set for life.
I think the first Heritage auction is at the end of the month. Yeah,
that's crazy.
So this is the other thing I wanted to bring up. If it's a lull, so I don't know how much you guys pay attention to AI. I think it's a very, very dangerous thing. Obviously, it has now. There are tangible examples of it putting comic artists out of work. Most recent example was, well, I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to do a name and shame thing. There was quite a prominent British comics author who was putting out a new edition of his book, right? And his modus operandi is that he does a book and he gets a few artists to do some book plates, an incentive to buy it. So it's like, if you get it up from me directly, you'll get a book plate that's only available this way. And last year he changed that and went, oh, okay, I'm doing the new edition of my book, but the book plates are all going to be designed by AI. Now, this week, my co-worker showed me some really frightening pictures. And you guys might have seen them. They're circulating on the internet at the moment. And it's pictures of Donald Trump. And those pictures are of him being arrested, him being chased down the street by the police, him celebrating something or other. And there's one of Putin and Nicola Sturgeon hugging each other as well. Now, what all these pictures have in common...
That you see, that's just
they are entirely AI generated.
Nobody would want Nicola Sturgeon.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Okay. Trump has 4 legs in that picture. Trump has like 23 fingers. I mean, you can tell. Just look at it for a second.
Okay. Well, I just use AI. Pardon my French. I just use these pictures as an example.
It's just ridiculous.
Okay.
It's
at the moment, you know that. But how quickly has that art form moved forward since it started circulating on apps earlier in the year, at the beginning of last year? So here is my worry, right? Here is my worry. We've already seen Disney claim on their signs at Disney World that Jack Kirby was a Disney artist. And technically he wasn't. Jack Kirby was an artist who did work for Marvel when Marvel was still not owned by Disney. But because Disney bought Marvel, now he becomes assimilated as part of the Disney canon of artists. Now, I don't know if you've noticed this, but
not true.
I know it's not true.
No.
But that history,
he actually was a Disney artist. Here's the thing. In 1979 to 80, he did adaptation of the Black Hole for Disney, for Sunday strips. And he got this gig through Mike Banier.
Yeah,
I mean, Mark.
True,
I mean,
but that's not
Mike.
The work they're using to demonstrate his work.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is, he was at one point actually a Disney artist, considered a Disney artist in the 70s.
He was a Disney artist, but he wasn't. But the work they're using to promote his work for them is not the work he generated for them. They are using examples of things like the X-Men and the Hulk and Thor and all the stuff that he created for Marvel. That's correct. That's the portfolio they're going with. That he was a beloved Disney artist, right? And that's why it's untrue, and it's a smearing of history. Now, the reason I bring this stuff up is I don't trust people to keep the story straight, right? I don't trust.
I don't either.
I mean, I've seen the anti. There's an amazing that's that amazing book, The Rise and Fall of a True Believer, about Stan Lee, right? Which is fairly candid and not particularly generous to the memory of Stan Lee, but it is based on tangible and verifiable documents, right? But people hate that. They don't want to believe that version of history. They want their own version of history, which has been supplied for years and years by Stan and his PR people. So I think the thing that is important now, where we live in a time where people are anti the notion of history, and you have AI, which is capable of generating any image you want, and you're going to have people who aren't as perhaps art savvy as us, who wouldn't be able to say, well, the shadows are wrong on that Donald Trump being chased by the police, so it is AI. They will end up believing whatever the corporate version of history is. So the reason I mention all this is to lead into the fact that in terms of comics, I think what's going to be really important for people maybe younger than us who don't know about this stuff is to have copies of the physical magazines that documented the events at the time. So I wanted to go through a couple of the magazines that I think tell the story, maybe not in a nice way, but they tell it in an honest way. Work, you guys, I've got examples with me.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Hello? 1, 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to carry on regardless because we're out of sync. Okay.
Hey, I wanted to know.
So the first one I want to bring up
is
one.
Do they look really photorealistic then? These pictures that you're saying they've been sharing recently, they look.
If you just looked at them straight, you would just go, "Oh, that's a picture of Donald Trump being arrested." You take a couple of seconds to go, "Oh, wait a minute, that shadow shouldn't be there because the light source isn't coming from there." But if you didn't know, if you didn't have like the what's the word? If you looked at it 20 years down the line and you didn't have the historical perspective of, well, I would have seen a story about Donald Trump being arrested. Like I would have. Like I follow what happens with that guy quite a lot. You would just go, oh, I guess Donald Trump was arrested. And it's really not difficult to mess with people's perceptions. Speaking of Trump, it didn't take Trump very long, for example, to convince all of his voters that Barack Obama was president when Hurricane Katrina happened. And suddenly Barack's being besieged on Twitter by people saying, hey, why didn't you do more? And the answer is because he wasn't president when that happened. George W.
He
Bush
wasn't
was
even a senator yet. Yeah, that's the funny thing.
But it's that misinformation is to tell people this is what actually happened. And these are the same people who don't want people to pay attention to history. They just want you to say, hey, this is what happened because I said so. And verifiable data.
Especially with all these people inventing their own truth and like,
that's the core, isn't it? If you invent your own truth, then you generate the AI image to back it up, and then you just pretend that's always been true. You know, like, oh, look, here's a picture of Barack Obama shaking hands with Saddam Hussein. Because the whole thing with Barack Obama was always his middle name was Hussein, right? So they were always like, oh, they must be connected because two men couldn't be called Hussein without being related.
Hussein's such a rare name.
Hussein is John, basically. I mean, it's like common name. Yeah. That's why it was so stupid. And Barack Hussein Obama. Yes, that's my name. I know. You know, I mean, it's so stupid.
My favorite one was the Hillary's name rhymes with Killery, so therefore Hillary must be guilty of war crimes. Yeah, what logic is that?
I'll tell you.
And
sometime when we're not on the air, I'll tell you my Hillary story. It's pretty shocking.
I'm sure it's a good one.
It is good. It is good. But I'll just say this: she basically said something. The worst thing you can say about a black person she said in a conversation I overheard with one of her lawyers on a cell phone, she called Obama the N-word 3 times in a 5-minute conversation.
Who did
Hillary
that?
Clinton.
Oh, did she?
Wow.
Hillary Clinton. Yeah. And I was standing there. I heard it. I was a delegate for Obama, and this was at the Texas convention. And most of my friends that like Hillary, they're like, oh, that never happened. And it's like, I was standing right there. It was her voice. It was 2008 when you could hear everything someone was saying on the phone next to you. I mean, I have no dog in the fight to, I mean, and so people can hear the truth, and it's still,
no,
because they still don't care.
No, because we moved from objectivity to subjectivity. Okay.
Yes.
It's why nobody wants to engage in a discussion. It's like it's like extreme religion. Okay. So if you have an extreme evangelist, they don't want to engage in a discussion with you because their view is, I don't want to hear any facts. What I believe this, therefore it is true.
It's feelings above facts.
Yeah, it's subjectivity over objectivity.
Yeah.
And I see this all the time now, and it really annoys me because it's destroying argument and it's destroying discussion. Because it's why the completely crazy people like the flat earthers are on the rise again. And I've seen them. You can go onto YouTube, watch them. They are convinced the earth is flat. Okay.
Well,
and you say to them, but here are all these facts. And they go, yeah, no, but I believe this, so it must be right. And
but
if you're disagreeing with me, you're disabusing me, and you're bullying me, because I believe this. And therefore, you need to be cancelled because,
you're QAnon theories are not right next, Mark.
But the funny thing is that that's happening on both sides. Like, I'm liberal, and yet I see people from the right pulling that. I see people from the left pulling that, and they're all using the same argument now. Oh, you can't do that to me. My name is Karen. Can I see the manager? It's ridiculous. Everyone feels freaking entitled these days.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, and it's funny. I'll go talk to a bunch of my liberal friends, and they'll say something that I don't know where they even came up with it, and then I'll get the same thing when I go hang out with my right-wing friend. I'm just like, look, I can show you right here. Oh, well, you don't know if that's real news or not. You don't know if that picture of the man lying there dead with the hatchet in his head is real. I mean, chances are it's not AI.
I've not looked out the window lately, Van Helsing, so I haven't seen any nocturnal menaces around. If I do, I'll report it to the correct authorities, hopefully.
Is this one of the things Kyle was talking about?
I don't know.
Have to go. Oh, thanks,
so
Mom.
Saying what you're saying, to follow on about like both sides thing. Hello again. I was on the mycomicshop.com page a few days ago, and they showed a page of Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil run, and so it's like Matt Murdock beating the hell out of Frank Castle, and he says something related to like, by God, I'm going to knock you out, or something along those lines. He invokes his Catholic thing, right? And the argument seemed to be on the page that Matt Murdock should not be Christian because there are a great many Christians who do terrible things. And I'm not going to dispute that one way or the other. But the point is, because it's such a non-argument. It's like you can't just say, because these people are like this, we have to retrofit who Matt is to fit in with the norms of now. Because one, no, that's not happening. That's a step towards entitlement too far. And two, and this is an awful thing to say, but I will say it. My main problem with any notion of correcting behavior and retrospectively talking about the norms of behavior and what should and shouldn't be is, I don't think we're much better than we were a few decades ago. I don't think we have any moral standpoint, any moral pedestal could look back on other generations and say you were out of order. As Chris Rock said, and I said it before him, but fuck it, we're both right. there are a lot of people in the world that are looking down on other people using technology built by child slaves. And that's a happenstance that goes on all the day. So we don't have too much of a, we have it right morally nowadays. We're not much better than we were before. So we don't get to sit down and say, we are going to edit works that happened previously because we have worked out how society should work. Because, you know, I don't know how things are in America, but where me and Mark and Gray are, we've literally just announced that the police have got powers to persecute the homeless for being homeless. Okay? We are now dumping immigrants into unused ships and to military bases. We are not good enough to say, hey.
Wow.
I think there's a political rant going on here.
Yeah, I think the Labour Party might have cut him off. I'm not sure.
No,
Not the Labour Party.
I think the Labour Party, the Conservative Party, and the Liberals have cut him off.
Yeah, I think they joined together finally.
Oh,
they finally found common ground. Get Nevs off the app.
And you were here, Bill, when he was cut off.
Yes.
By the
Illuminati.
I just
now he's cloning himself too.
I got cancelled by the internet.
I know. Yeah.
Now we've decided that the Labour Party, the Conservative Party, the Liberal Democrats, and the Illuminati,
they've all bonded together to get you off the air.
To get you off the air.
Yeah.
Lizard people.
Enemy of the people.
What were these magazines you were going to show us about 20 minutes ago?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So this was the first one, right? This is
the Nevs Party. Begins now. Nevs.
Let's see if I can put you in the big screen. Hold on, I'll try and put you on.
Guys, right. I'm going to have to go because I've got to go and sell comics.
Go sell comics.
Have you been cancelled as well?
No,
yeah, no, that'll happen later when he doesn't get his money. Bye, Mark.
Have a good show, Mark. Good selling.
Good luck.
So this is the
great. I liked Vertigo, by the way. I thought it was really good.
See you
Sunday. I loved Vertigo. Vertigo was what kept me in comics when Vertigo happened at just the right time because I'd done the whole buying all of the Age of Apocalypse, right? And then bought X-Men Prime and went, wait a minute, I could have just saved 6 months of buying Marvel comics by just not buying these. But luckily, Vertigo launched at just the right time, and there were some covers that Brendan McCarthy and Chris Baclow did for The Changing Man. I was like, that's what I want to be reading. So Comics International, which I think still has some provenance in America. This was a monthly newspaper. This was basically the hub of British comics fandom, where they provided a news service, they provided interviews. If you were going to have an opinion about British comics and you wanted it to be read and heard by significant people, you wrote to Comics International, and it was really good. Here's what's coming out. Here's some opinions. And this is really key. They had a listing of every comic shop you could access in the UK. So if you saw something in here and you went, "Oh, I'm quite interested in this," you could ring up every comic shop and say, "Hey, are you ordering this?" So that was the first one. This went on for quite a long time. I think it only stopped around 2006, maybe somewhere around that time.
Oh, that long ago.
Second one is, and this is my main event because I don't know how we are for time, so I'm just going to jump to this one. To me, this is the most important comic magazine.
Another half hour, yeah.
And for 2 reasons. So this is just an issue of it. This isn't a specific one, but this is my boy. This is the Comics Journal. This is the magazine that said to the comics industry, hey, do you know what? You could be a lot better than you are. And they proved it. Because, when the journal started, it was just a magazine of criticism, and they would say, these are the standards that we could aspire to. There are things like the EC Comics, or Nemo, or Gasoline Alley, or Will Eisner's work. That's what you should be aiming for. At the same time that Marvel and DC were just putting up, like Crisis on Infinite Earths or Secret Wars. And the Comics Journal was constantly like here's what could happen if you tried harder. And they interviewed everyone. They did. So this is a massive interview with a chap called Robert Williams, who's a major figure in the lowbrow movement and has a magazine called Juxtapose, which has been a launching point for people like James Jean and Tara McPherson Rocking Jelly Bean, he's another one. Anyway,
I didn't realize that Robert Williams is an American, though, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Okay.
This is the journal.
I heard Jelly Babies, and you confused me.
No, there's an amazing Japanese artist called Rocking Jelly Bean who does this kind of. He
Jelly
does
Bean?
just like
never heard of that.
Stylized prints. I don't have any examples to work his hand, but I don't think I could show any of them on camera anyway. Would get like demonetized instantly because he's very booby in his artwork. But it all looks like Dave Stevens, Robert Williams. He did an amazing picture of Gamora. Right, that's your entry point. If you're watching and we want to Google Rocking Jelly Bean Gamora, or he did a statue of Miss what's her name, Sue Richards. So yeah, the journal. Here's one issue. Hang on, this is I think the first issue I bought, which was the big interview with Dan Clowes, where 8-Ball had just started becoming a thing. So you'd have these incredibly long interviews about what comics could be and the history of it, and Gary Gruff and Kim Thompson were obviously intrigued enough and wanted to document, and this is an important thing, everything that happened as much as they could from an independent standpoint. Obviously, the journals probably, well, except for the second example I'm bringing up, their major contribution to comics history was they were the guys who took on the Kirby case when Kirby was taking on Marvel over the whole, hey, I want my artwork back, and you don't seem to be able to find it. And they sent him this contract, which basically said, you can have your artwork back as much as we can find, but you never get to ask us anything ever again. So if we want the artwork back, by the way, we're taking it, but you give away any rights to be identified with the characters you created. And, they were like, Kirby's family, like, you've only found 88 pages of the thousands that Jack generated for you. So what's going on there? Anyway, that ended as it did, but the journal were on track for that. They were ones documenting everything. That's why I mentioned the journal,
and they squarely pointed the finger at Roy Thomas for the theft of a lot of that. And I wasn't going to name names. I don't know Roy like a lot of people know Roy, and I don't know if you guys know him. I think Kyle does. I don't know Roy, so right. I can't say anything. But I will say this. I will say I've heard an awful lot of evidence that sounds to me like it couldn't have gone on without him knowing about it. And whether
I wasn't there, I don't have a dog in the fight personally.
No, and I realize that. I'm just saying I'm highly suspect of that, but No, but I don't know Roy, and I don't, I've never carried on a conversation with him about it. So, it's probably not right for me to just come right out and say that, but I did.
But I guess you just did.
So I'm done.
So the other good thing the journal did was they were very good at documenting the history of cartoon strips. So obviously, this is a big interview of Bill Watterson, who's got a new book coming out very soon. But they would, they had a separate magazine,
which all looks like AI, by the way.
Oh yeah. Like he didn't draw anything; he just had a little robot, right?
He's just very weird, very weird.
It's so amazing to see Bill's work, and he was so thoughtful about the process. But yeah, as I was saying, they had Nemo magazine, so they said, "Hey, look, there is this massive history of cartoon strips which is completely ignored by the comics community of this." I think this is the early 90s, and it should be remembered. Because so many good people started there,
Right.
You wouldn't have had. I mean, without Hal Foster, you don't have Frank Frazetta. And without Frank Frazetta, you don't have Bernie Wrightson. You don't have Sam Keefe. You don't have Kelly Jones. There's this whole genealogy of art which is completely ignored if you don't take into account the nature of comic strips. However, and I think this is the key thing. This is the moment that I think. So the main argument I hear against critics is that critics don't generate anything, right? They just say, this isn't any good. And this is the thing that Gary Gruff did that proved that whole theory entirely inaccurate. So this is, I don't know if this is true, but I'm going to ask him because Gilbert Hernandez is coming to London 26th of May for MCM. And it's my favorite story about comics ever. So Los Bros Hernandez, Jamie, Mario, and Gilbert have decided to put together this comic called Ben. And they're not entirely sure about it. So they go along with this idea of this. We're going to send the first issue of Ben to Gary Gruff, because Gary Gruff has a reputation of being the harshest reviewer in comics. So if they can get through an awful review by Gary Groff, there's nothing else the comics industry can throw at them, right? Because Gary's the peak. Gary is Darkseid. Gary is Thanos with the Infinity Stones. Once he savaged you, there's nothing worse coming.
But he loved it so much, he decided to produce it himself.
Damn it, man! You just blew my fucking punchline. Right? Yeah.
I'm sorry, I had to do that. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
What Bill said is absolutely true. Gary looked at it and said, "This is the pinnacle of what I have been talking about with the Comics Journal. This is the kind of material that is exactly what epitomizes the standard that comics ought to be at." And so, as Bill tells you in advance of my punchline, thanks, Bill, he publishes...
I love you, pal.
I know. I'll get you on the after show. So, yeah, Love and Rockets becomes a thing, and that opens the floodgates, because then you get Peter Baggs' hate because he transfers from doing Weirdo from Robert Crumb, so he takes the Bradleys over to Fantagraphics, and then Dan Clow starts doing Lloyd Llewellyn, and that becomes a thing via Fantagraphics, and that later becomes 8-Ball. This is the beginning of basically, and I'm going to sound like such an elitist dick saying this, but I don't care. This is the beginning of good American comics, the resurgence of good American comics.
Resurgence. Yeah, I would say resurgence.
Of like, such a long period of like corporate trademark A hits corporate trademark B. And unless you were willing to go to the head shops and go to the underground, get by the undergrounds and pick up Zap or Cocaine Comics or Snatch, you wouldn't have got anything like this. Correct. And, eventually, obviously, you get things like people like Chris Ware, and you get Julie Doucet, and you get the, God, who's the other person I'm thinking of whose name I can't remember? Doesn't matter. But these guys aren't just significant for creating some really good comics. They carry the good name of what comics can be into the mainstream. So if you talk about certain comic creators who talk about pre-sales of things of X-Men comics to comic shops, and they sell 1.5 million copies to shops, okay? But then you've got Jamie Hernandez doing the Bob Dylan themed hour posters. You've got Chris Ware, who is a regular on the New Yorker cover. You've got Gilbert Hernandez, who does stuff about Frida Kahlo. That's the truth. You've got Neil Gaiman doing TV shows for Netflix, right? That's the true face of quality comics. And I will almost guarantee
you're missing out some people like Chester Brown.
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely. Chester Brown, Joe Matt, like the whole cacophony. I understand that. I'm just trying to make the point. I'm not trying to be too comprehensive with my names. And I would like to think anyone watching this would go, hey, you know what? Fantagraphics, I haven't heard of them before. I'm going to look up their back catalogue and I'm going to discover all kinds of things.
Yes, exactly.
But I think the thing that's important, like Chris Ware, he's another regular on the New Yorker. That is the face of comics that I think endures over the I've pre-sold 1.5 million comics to some comic shops. That's not the face I want to be part of. The face I want to be part of is the stuff that say, hey, this medium can really do stuff. Like Asterios Pulp by David Mazzucchelli. If you just knew about superhero comics, you'd know Mazzucchelli by Batman Year One. But Asterios Pulp is one of the most fascinating novels. Glenn Dillon, who now does design artwork for Star Wars, right? He did The Now of Brown, which I think is one of the greatest graphic novels ever produced, and nobody seems to know about it, which I find disgusting. But the reason I mention these magazines is, well, then I look forward to seeing what you have to say about it.
I just read superhero comics, mate. That's what I'm interested in.
That's fair enough. So the last one, and I'm going to put a shout out to John B. Cook because he's one of my favorites, right? John B. Cook put out a magazine called Comic Book Artist via Tomorrow's Publishing. And John, I think, honestly, if we want to get anyone on this show, I think it's John. John was the guy who was interested not in what comics were published, but what happened. What happened from the creator's perspective. So this is the issue about National Lampoon, where he interviews, is it Michael Gross? He does a big interview with one of the guys. Yeah. He sits him down and says, like, tell me everything. Tell me from how you started to National Lampoon to how you end up doing National Lampoon Animal House and how you end up designing the Ghostbusters stuff. And that is the point I am trying to make where I bring up all these magazines. By having this tangible, inalterable, documented evidence of what happens, then you can have, this isn't the full story. Do you know what I mean? No magazine has the full story and everything has, as to use Mark words, their own agendas. Like Fantagraphics was always on the back end of like having a go at Marvel and DC. But you get a better idea of the full history of comics publishing. And I suspect this might be a key thing to do in other mediums as well, by going through the things that can't be altered by the internet because they exist in tangible form. And you say, this is what happened. This is what standard. This is what happened between Bob Payne and Bill Finger.
Hey, by the way, John Cook also wrote the Charlton book.
I'm sorry, say that again.
John B. Cook also wrote the Charlton book.
He absolutely did, yeah. And he
came out recently, and Mark and I have both read, and it's fantastic. And
no, John's an unsung hero as far as I'm concerned. That guy.
Over here, he's getting his due. I think finally. He was for a very long time, but he's come out with all this stuff like right in a row, and it's hard to like ignore the greatness that's coming out of him.
Well, so one of the things that ought to be in print that isn't, that he's got a hand in, one of my drops the name friends, George Corey. So I think if you want a real idea of how the comics industry treats intelligent people who have a desire to transcend that weekly comic thing, there's a book called The Komodo Companion by George Corey, put together by George and John B. Cook as part of the Tomorrow's thing. And it takes you through, the inception of why Miracle Man is based on those Captain Marvel replacements back in the Mick Anglo days, all the way up to Marvel buying the character and telling you. Yeah, it's an amazing book, and it's got the original pages by Mark Buckingham of Miracle Man 25. And this is a long, long time ago. This is long before the Silver Age was published. I think it's like a turn of the century, 2001 and 2002 book. But there's that book, and there's also the other thing the two did, which is called The Road to Independence, which is the Image story, which has significant contributions by 6 of the Image founders. I will let you take a wild guess on who the 7th one was, and also another book that's out of print, but it is available via the Tomorrow's publishing thing. So the point I'm making is essentially, and I've got a long way of saying it, I don't think history on the internet is going to be trustable anymore. I think there are too many people with a vested interest in altering it and generating documents and imagery to make you think what happened is what they want you to believe is what happened. I think if you have the tangible magazines that you can't argue with because nobody can alter them, then you have a better idea of what's going on. So end of the soapbox. Please carry on.
Look at Hey Kids Comics by Chaykin.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, God.
Now that is something that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Howard Chaykin's thing for Image.
We need to have Chaykin on. He will come on. And we need to have him come on because
I think we might be too nerdy for the likes of Chaykin, but I'll be happy to
No. He's kind of like, he's a thinker like we are, I think. He's a friend of mine. And I do think he would love to chew this discussion up a bit.
I would love to talk to him about everything to do with the creation of the original Black Flag series. Not Black Flag. Black Flag. Black Flag. Yeah.
The American flag.
Yeah. The American flag Black Kiss spin-off. Nobody knew we wanted.
Yeah. No one ever asked for
it.
No one asked for it.
No.
Oh my God, American flag and Black Kiss. Why did you never do that? That's money right there.
What?
He went with American Kiss
flag and Black Kiss.
Flag.
I'd buy it.
I would, yeah.
Yeah, right. So
Black Flag, yeah. And Henry Rollins would sue us, but besides that, Mother. Oh no, that's Danzig. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I get those guys.
No, you were right. You were right. Henry Rollins was Black Flag.
Yeah,
Danzig is the Misfits.
Yeah,
you're fine.
Yeah. Well,
Henry Rollins versus Howard Chaykin in conversation is worth watching, I think.
Yeah.
So we should just do it for that.
I think so. Why not?
Rollins versus Chaykin tonight on Fox.
That's not a bad concept.
Funny.
Two people from completely different worlds and get them to talk about something.
Yeah. Henry Rollins writes the comic. Howard Chaykin fronts a hardcore DC band. That'll be awesome.
Yeah. We could get Pam Ayres chatting with, I don't know.
Yeah, you guys kill me.
Oh, man.
Okay,
Yeah,
so just because I know how dubious my internet is, and I don't want to start another soapbox moment and then cut out midway like it did when I was explaining why the government's
these have
all
got
wrong.
better.
And then
Since
I got
Mark
cancelled by
went,
the
I think
internet.
with only 3 people in there, you seem to not be cutting out so much.
Right,
Yeah.
so we have to kill Mark, is what you're saying.
No, it's just a coincidence, I'm sure.
Don't kill Mark.
No.
All right, I won't kill Mark.
Don't kill
This
Mark.
was said in a comedy context. Please, nobody take that line out of context.
I'm going to clip
turn
that
it
out.
into a
That's going
meme
to
or
be
something.
clipped out. We're going to stick that on the news site. We're going to twist the images. Well,
It's me on the front page of Bleeding Cool, like, let's kill comic dealers.
Yeah, there's that deep fake, isn't it, where they can actually change your voice completely and like make your lips move so you could be saying anything. You know, the amount of crazy stuff they can create nowadays.
There's I don't know what the right word is. There is a manipulation of a video of a wrestler called the Ultimate Warrior who was a very verbose and intense man. And if you watch back the manipulation, he says some fairly... Are you aware of his work? Yeah, good.
Yeah, I'm aware of his work. I
do
remember seeing it back in the day.
Yeah. He's a very intense man. What? Oh man, I could tell the Warrior. I could do a show of Warrior stories. Like
millions of little warriors. What we used to say, I can't remember what we used to call it.
I'll tell you
more
something.
Macho Man Randy Savage is my fave.
Savage is one of the greatest people who ever walked the earth. But here's the thing. The Warriors promos, like, because I do impressions all the time, right? Because I just do, right? Warrior promos, where you're just explaining for 3 minutes why I'm going to beat up this guy. They are hard work. Like, just to generate that, like, I can't even do it for more than 30 seconds. Well, that's because I'm a chain smoker, but it's like, and the flux capacitor will come for you.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan. It's like, now, I'm out of breath, mate. I don't know, like, what you do to your lungs. Whereas Randy Savage is quite easy and quite fun. Like, as a wise man once said, which among us has not answered the phone in the voice of Macho Man Randy Savage?
I don't know if I've answered the phone. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're through.
Oh, yeah.
Through the crop. Yeah, you're through now. Snap into a Slim Jim. Oh, shit. No, I just did advertising. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, my favorite thing to finish on. And my favorite weird collaboration, of course, which is you can find on my Mondo Funny Books Facebook page, but I wrote this a few years ago. The greatest collaboration that exists between the world of wrestling and the world of comics is the WWF comic that Jim Shooter put together when he was running Valiant, right? So Jim was, for anything else anyone wants to say about Jim Shooter, that guy had an eye for talent because he's the guy who noticed J.G. Jones and David Lapham, which is a hell of a CV, right? So David Lapham's a new guy and he's working for Valiant, right? And he's just doing pencils and stuff. So there's this beautiful issue of WWE Power Mania, what it's called. I think it's issue 3. Thanks, Bill. I feel appreciated.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. So there is where the Ultimate Warrior is drawn by Stan Drake, as in, yes, that's Stan Drake, and David Lapham. And to me, that's such a, like, 3 generations in one page. It's a thing of beauty and joy. The Warrior, Stan Drake, David Lapham. That's basically 3 of your favorites.
So wouldn't you think, or wouldn't you say that was an extension of what Neil Adams started when he did Muhammad Ali versus Superman?
No, I think it's more of an extension of, like, I think it's the same thing where the Batman comic started resembling the Batman TV show, where you just have the intelligence to say, hey, look, there's an audience for this, right? So why don't we just take that audience and give them a product that will work on it? And for some reason, comics never seem to be very good at that. Like, I'm a big fan of the Marvel music line, right? The Marvel music line, as far as I'm concerned, that should have been money on the table. And I don't know if it was a lack of retailer support. I don't know if it was the publishers not having the balls to get behind it. But man, it
was leading off with Billy Ray Cyrus. Right? I think that had a lot to do with it.
But so quality aside, that was industry, right?
Some of the stuff they did with that music line was ridiculous.
There's so much money sitting there. It's like you publish T-shirts and you put Alice Cooper or Rob Zombie or KRS-One or who's the other guy who's in it? Or the Rolling Stones, right? And Rob Zombie, yeah. You put them on T-shirts. Amazing. And was there an Aussie one? Okay, I'm willing to believe you.
Yeah, there were. There were some Aussie, if I'm not mistaken.
What is it that comics do wrong that everyone else does right? Because there was a plethora, as I said at the top of the show, there was a plethora of Disney adaptations that Marvel did around the same time, but people wouldn't order them. There were Barbie comics. Like, how much money do Barbie fans have? But the Barbie comics didn't sell particularly well. And it's such a bizarre thing.
Because they sold them in comic stores. They didn't sell them on the shelves with the Barbies. It's product placement. You put the comics in the aisle where they're selling the damn Barbies. I mean, that seems like a no-brainer to me.
You're right. But see, if I was part of the Marvel music line, I would be in touch with every venue and say, hey, you've got Alice Cooper playing. Do you want 100 copies of the Alice Cooper comic?
Yeah.
To me, again, that's a no-brainer. It is about product placement. But you have to have people who think outside of what sells in a new comic shop. So I hate to say it. I may have been part of the problem. Okay, so there was a really cool Dan Dare miniseries that Titan put out not too long ago. And the problem is, or you could write the Prisoner thing or the Blade Runner comics. Comic shops are really short-sighted, and they just go, okay, we've got a Dan Dare comic, we're going to put it next to something called D. We'll put it next to Detective Comics, but Detective Comics will be kind of over it. And you don't sell the licensed stuff like you were selling this week's superhero book, right? You create a little section. You say, hey, are you from the real world? Okay, we know you don't know the difference between Infinity War and Infinity Gauntlet, but you know who the fuck the Muppets are, right? So as you come in, hey, look, there's a Muppets comic. Hey, there's The Prisoner. Here's Blade Runner. Here's Barbie. Here's Beauty and the Beast. This stuff is not difficult. But I don't understand why it's a process the comic shops refuse to do. That you just go, not everything goes on that new Wednesday window.
I'm in total agreement with you on this.
I think they need to get them back in the news agents as well. As soon as
that
possible.
Is not a cheap option, though, is it? Yeah. It's not a cheap option at all. No. W.H. Smith's over here. W.H. Smith's are like our Barnes and Noble, for want of a better description. And man, they're cut on your cover price. That's why things like Shift cost about £8 or £9 an issue, because even the 77, they have to do Kickstarters all the time. It's such a locked off thing.
That's too bad.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, you think like kids have got to travel like 10 miles to find a comic shop near them. They're not going to be buying comics, are they? But if they go to the corner store and they're getting their sweets and they see comic books, they might buy them.
Yeah, but they don't do that over here anymore. You don't buy. You never have comics at convenience stores here anymore.
No.
And as a kid, that's where I used to buy all mine.
Exactly. Spend hours looking at the racks.
7-Eleven, Mr. M's, these kind of places. And a lot of those places are just gone now. And it really sucks.
All the UK comics are pretty died as well, though. I barely used to be so many weekly UK comics, and they've all gone. So I think it's more the fact that it's got to be equally the fact that kids aren't bothering with reading anymore. I think that's got to be one of the major factors, really.
No, you're right.
Unfortunately,
you're absolutely right. I guess we lost Nevs, huh?
For about the 5th time tonight, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we only have 12 minutes to go. Hopefully, he can come back and stay back.
Yeah.
What is it with y'all's internet over there? Is it just
we don't have much luck, do we? We don't have much joy. Mine seems a bit better tonight. It just keeps being.
Yeah, yours has been great tonight.
Yes, it's like a bit slow when it comes to dragging people like windows and sometimes I can't see if it seems to be happening slowly on my end, and other people see it quicker. But I don't really know.
Right.
But anyway, what have you been reading this week? Anything interesting?
No, it's funny. I haven't made it to a comic store in a few weeks, and I haven't done any shows lately. So there were some shows here. Well, there are some shows coming up, but I just my life has been kind of tumultuous lately with a lot of family stuff. So it's been harder. It's been harder to get new stuff. I am excited about a lot of stuff that's coming out. A friend of mine has a new series. I don't know if I've talked about this or not, but John Jennings, and he's doing a series with Marvel called God, what is it called now? Oh my gosh.
You try to remember it the minute you go.
Well, it's a Silver Surfer book.
Okay.
Ghostlight.
Okay.
And it's basically a black Silver Surfer, or someone of his ilk, a herald for Galactus.
Right.
And it's spectacular. Really nice. And the variant covers are great. Something I need to pick up, and they're already out of it. Most of the stores. So, and I'm not a subscription person. I like to go see it and buy it. So
yeah, I don't buy any new comics. No, I haven't bought new comics in years.
Well, and when I go to buy new comics, they're not there anyway. So that's what.
It's too expensive.
I wish.
That's why I stopped reading. I stopped buying them in 2013. I just didn't feel the value of them was worth the money anymore. I wasn't getting as much enjoyment out of them for the amount of money they were costing me.
Right.
So you'd read them, they wouldn't be that engaging. They kept killing off characters that I liked, which bloody annoyed the hell out of me. And I just didn't find them as gripping or as interesting as they used to be.
If I buy new comics today, chances are it's going to be someone I really like Mike Allred, Mad Men, and but all the great Marvel books he's done.
Right.
He did 2 different series of Silver Surfer. He did that FF series, which I thought was really good. And then I love his style. I love his storytelling, and it's always something exciting and new. Every time, I mean, he changes things up so much. It's exciting to read his stuff.
Okay.
I'm
not really familiar with him at all.
Really?
No, I don't think I've not read that FF run or anything like that. So if he's mainly worked for Marvel, anytime after the mid-90s, I wouldn't know him.
He did some X-Men stuff too around the late 90s. So you probably missed him entirely.
No, I stopped Marvel before then. But I've actually run out of my reading pile. My reading pile is empty. I've read everything in my reading pile. So all I've got in my to read box is a series that I'm trying to finish off. So I've not finished off this Black Lightning series yet. So I need one more comic, I think, to get that, and then I can read it. 1 or 2 more. I've got a couple of Flash omnibuses. I'm going to dig them out because they've been on my to read pile for ages. So I'll dig them out. I think I'll read them next. So I got some basically all early Flash stories. So that'd be cool. Get those.
I like that early Flash stuff.
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
Yeah, daft as a brush, but Flash has always been like you've always got to just don't worry about logic when it comes to reading any comic book.
No.
But like, for example, he'll slip over on a bit of a bit of oil or something, and suddenly the villain's got away. And it's like, there's no way. The Flash is so fast; he could run around the world 5 times and find them. And then suddenly he gives up. But yeah, it's just like. But another time he'll use his speed properly, and it's like, well, why didn't you just do that time? It's but
and the TV show does the same damn thing.
Yeah, they have to make it. I don't know. Yeah.
we need to do a whole episode on the pseudoscience of the CW series.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
Anyway.
So I guess Nevs isn't coming back.
No, I don't think he's coming back. I think he's decided the internet has spoken. Has won. Has won for this week.
Well, I guess. Well, we got a few minutes left, but I think we've kind of run out of show, huh?
Yeah, unless you've got something you want to show, I'll go and get my dinner run.
Well, thanks for tuning in this week, folks. It's been
only one person watching anyway. It's been about one person watching most of the show. No, we've had about 5 people at one point. But whatever. Never mind.
Well, thanks, guys. We appreciate you watching. Hopefully you'll be watching this on YouTube later, even.
It was a very, very disjointed conversation. We went from one subject to another without ever kind of thrashing out or resolving anything. Almost.
It's actually fun today. I mean, it's always fun, but it was kind of fun being disjointed.
What do you think about this woke stuff? Because I kind of think of myself as being pretty woke, to be honest. I'm left wing really, and
me too.
I think a lot of it people say woke, and it's like a repeating mantra. So anything that's different, or anything that kind of even mentions someone not white male, gets like called woke nowadays. It's like it's kind of like there is some sort of like, oh, maybe more. There's more use of people they may not have used in the past, but I don't think that's woke. That's just being more inclusive.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I agree. I agree. And it's funny. There's this guy that I've had issues with. He's super conservative, but he always uses woke as a dog whistle.
It's been turned into pejorative, hasn't
it? Today he kept calling Disney woke in this post he made, and I said, you know what? We don't need to hear. Then it's my group. And I go, we don't need to hear that. And he goes, well, what I mean by woke, I know what you fucking mean by woke. You don't have to school me on this shit.
Yeah.
It made me so angry.
They see some examples, and everything becomes an example, and it kind of self-perpetuates, and they like kind of, I don't know, goes around in circles with it. I mean, there are some things you kind of like, okay, I don't know. I mean, I don't read that many modern comics, so I'm not too sure what's going on. But I'm always seeing people saying this is woke, that's woke, and blah blah blah. I don't know.
Woke means that they allowed a woman to be a character that's always been male. I mean, big freaking deal. Captain Marvel. Who cares?
Yeah, I know. It's strange. It's strange. I think it's been more. I don't know. It's coming into a bit of a. It works itself into a frenzy of it, kind of thing. It's like
it's like it's a shark feeding frenzy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Blood in the water. Everybody.
Yeah.
I
don't know. Yeah. I mean, there probably is some of that, but I don't really know if it's really a bad thing.
I don't think it's something that really bugs me.
No.
Enough to where I don't, I want to get rid of it or not think about it.
There's one like example that I thought was a bit strange. It wasn't to do with comic books, but apparently they made a historical drama a while ago. I never watched it, but they made the historical character of Anne Boleyn a black woman, and I was just like, that's a bit strange because she definitely wasn't a black woman. So it was like, but
right, and that I mean, in the whole Nick Fury thing.
Oh yeah, but there wasn't. I don't think that really matters, but yeah, I don't know. So
here's the thing. This is what I've heard. It may be right, it may not be right, but I've heard when they made Nick Fury black. Basically, it was supposed to be the original Nick Fury's son, but then it became that he was always Nick Fury. I don't know, but.
But yeah, I never.
The whole reason they started drawing him like Samuel L. Jackson is they already knew that they wanted him to be Nick Fury whenever they went, studio wise. Someone knew they were doing when it happened. Marvel Studios was already in the works.
That strikes me as weird. Why didn't they just make another person like a new character, head of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Why did they keep this? I don't know. I don't know what. I never actually read the story, so I have no idea what happened there. Whether he was, is it supposed to be like someone with the same name? It's supposed to be exactly the same person. I don't understand how that worked.
Well, what Marvel did though was Marvel took Nick Fury completely out of World War II.
Right. Okay.
And they basically made him a bureaucrat from the 90s that turned into this guy.
Okay.
So that the MCU has done that. And so when they had the Howling Commandos in the first Captain America movie, it was Captain America and his Howling Commandos.
Right.
So that makes sense in the way they're doing things. They're putting some thought into this. So
yeah, that's the thing. When you got characters that have been around for so long, and how often do they have to retcon stuff and change stuff
and retool? Right.
Frank Castle's no longer a veteran of the Vietnam War now, is he? I mean,
it's Iraq.
Far too long ago. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
They have to keep moving wars to to
make Badger the same way. Badger is no longer. Badger was also now in the Iraq War.
Right.
Not a Vietnam vet. Yeah. So, and not only that, but the Fantastic Four now, it's not, their origin has nothing to do with trying to beat Russia to the moon.
Oh yeah.
You know, so one version had them going to Mars, one version had them trying to go to Venus. I mean, which is ridiculous. And then they change it all and say that they're going to another dimension. And that was freaking stupid.
Okay.
You know?
I've got to admit, we're changing the subject completely from left field. I love reading an old like sci-fi story, and then you look at the date on it, and you go, oh, you realise, oh, this was before they even went to the moon. This is like an early '60s, like, and they got
right.
Wow, and you think, wow, that's before they landed on the moon. To us now, the moon landing is so long ago, the year I was born, that it just feels like, you know, and you kind of put yourself in the place of thinking, wow, in that day, no one had been onto the moon, no one had even probably orbited the Earth yet, or something. It's like, you know, it's kind of, I don't know, it just gives it a different sort of feel or vibe to it when you read a story like that.
Well, I'm a little older than you, and I actually remember the moon landing. And it's funny, my family usually didn't stay up late, but my grandparents were visiting, and we stayed up, and I remember them waking me up to come watch it. It was fantastic. I mean, it was really something else.
Well,
but
massive.
But
massive,
after that happened, guess what happened to science fiction? It took a nosedive because people weren't interested anymore. It's like, oh, we've gone to the moon. Forget the sci-fi stuff, you know. And it's like
even the space race got less interesting. But they stopped. It was just like matter of fact, like, oh, so no person's going to the moon, are they? Oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Or send another rocket. Oh, whatever. Like the magic had been gone from it for some reason.
Yeah. So, and then let's move on. Let's go to Mars now, you know, and forget about those guys that just risk their lives to go to the moon.
All these sci-fi stuff, unless we get visited by aliens and they give us super technology, we're never going to be going to other planets. And,
right,
you know, we've not even been to the moon in, 40 years, have we? It's
Amen.
Like, you know, I think we've got one bloody...
No, we hadn't been to the moon in almost 50 years.
Is it 50 years? Wow.
Almost 50, yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. Well, hey, I got to run. It's been a wonderful week, Gray.
I'll see you next week, mate.
Okay, buddy. Bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.
Bye, everyone. See where our random chat will go next week.
You got it. What will we random chat about next week?
Yeah, and
tune in to find out.
Chat, drop me a line.
Bye, bud.
See ya.